Now we're going to talk about the coil. Like I told you, coils very fragile. Now, one thing is these wires here. What I'm going to wind up doing is I'm going to take a soldering gun. I'm going to heat up that solder and completely remove the old wires. However, you may not have soldering gun or soldering iron. Don't want to do that. So there's a couple options. First option is if this wire is still in good shape, you can simply remove some of the insulation and connect a new wire to it. Okay, let's say though that it's really not. It's falling apart and it's in really bad condition, but you still don't want to take the solder off. Well, one of the options is you can take this insulation off each side, okay, until there's nothing left but the wire, and then you can get heat shrink tube and put that on there, and you'll replace the insulation effectively and connect your new wire to that. All right. Another thing that's possible, if you imagine this being on there and this is all rotted, okay, there's heat shrink tube that will fit over the old original wire, and that'll give you a safer condition. And once you've done that, you can connect your new cord with the old wire using a butt connector, a little piece of plastic where you put wire in both sides and you crimp it down. Okay, or you can also just take a wire cap, twist them together, and cap them together. There's usually plenty of room inside these kitchen clocks for a cap, so those are all options. I suggest you use electrical tape, whether you use a butt connector or caps, just to ensure that everything's safe. Like I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the old wires and solder on the new cord directly to the coil. So what I'm going to do is take a hobby vise, which I, by the way, would generally have straight up and down, but because of the way I'm recording, I have to have it over on the side like this. And I'm going to just take the coil and clamp it in there. You don't need a hobby vise. You can get them pretty cheap off of eBay. If you're interested, but I'm just going to use this hobby vise, hold the coil still. Now I'm going to take my soldering gun and I'm just going to heat up the old solder until it liquefies, and I can just pull the old wire off of there. Okay. All right. So now I've got both of those off, and I'm just cleaning this up because I want the hole going through there to exist. That's what I'm going to attach the new cord. I'm going to place the new cord through these holes, so I want to make sure that they're clear. All right, so now I've removed the old wires. what I'm going to do next is something that isn't necessary, but that I like to do, and that is I'm going to wrap the coil. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap it in glass tape. So this glass tape, I got it off of Amazon, and the word is that this glass tape is fireproof. And I'm going to do this to reinforce the coil, the old paper around the coil, so it doesn't fall apart anymore. And the trick to this is getting around the terminals. So the way I do it is I take a piece of tape and I just put a slit about halfway through, a little bit of the ways down, and then put it on there so the tape comes to the end. And then I'm gonna pull this tape through like this, a pair of tweezers, and trim it off. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is the other side the same way, and then the middle. This glass tape, by the way, you know, it's not something that has to be done, something I like to do, but I will tell you it's not cheap. So if you go to Amazon to buy it, you'll notice that it ain't cheap. So with this one, the paper's already coming off, the terminal is loose, so it's a good idea to add this tape here real gently. That'll keep it in place so the coil will continue to work. So again, pull it through. And then I'm going to trim it. And then finally, I'll go back in here and do this in the middle. So like I said, you don't have to wrap the coil, but if your coil's in bad shape, yeah, it's not a bad idea if you want it to keep on running. So now I'd take it a step further as well. What I'm going to do after this is I'm going to coat this whole situation with another product, which you can get at Harbor Freight or Walmart. I bought it at both places. It's pretty common. It's known as liquid tape. So what I'm going to do next is put this back in my hobby vise and take this stuff, this product called liquid tape, and it's really thick, so it's not real fun to put on, but definitely holds everything in place. And it's so thick, I'm just going to have to spread it on there as best I can. And I'll usually go back over after the first coat. I'll go back over. My goal is so that there's no white showing. But wrapping it, putting the liquid tape on here ensures that this coil is going to just keep on working and not fall apart. I feel pretty confident about that. Now, if you don't have the glass tape and your coil is in rough shape, it's possible to just simply get some of this liquid tape from Walmart or Harbor Freight and coat the coil with it. It's better with a coat of liquid tape over it than to just leave the old paper. So, but I'm gonna do both, and then I'm gonna solder on the new cord. So I'm gonna take a second here and finish this up. It dries very quickly, which is nice, but I'm gonna make sure that I got this thing covered, and then I'll come back and I'll show you the next step.